programs. Do you really want, you seniors, and I'm a senior, do we really want to have an independent practices advisory board to call our shots on what doctors we can see, what services we can have? So don't be deceived by the other side of the equation saying everything is status quo, because it isn't. So we have regulations, we have federally mandated programs, we have bailouts that haven't worked. In fact, there's been nothing stuffed the coffers of those special interest groups. We have stimulus packages that haven't worked. And here we have 23 million people either out of work or underemployed. And that has to change, and it hasn't changed in 4 years to the better. So even if it's just a mess, and we need people to go back to Washington, D.C. and put a plug in the reckless, and I will say immoral government spending that's going on back there. You know, there are things, when we're borrowing 40 cents on every dollar the government spends, how long can that continue? Not much longer. We're on the financial precipice. The debt clock just hit $16 trillion, and interestingly enough, it happened during the Democratic National Convention. We just can't handle the debt. $1 trillion is a lot of money, and I don't know if you know what $1 trillion is, but and then you can multiply this by 16 because that's where we are. But if you spent $1 a second, it would take you over 31,000 years to spend $1 trillion. Huge number. It's staggering number. So we've got to get, and there's, as a CEO, when we went through tough times at Coors and had to cut back and watch our pennies and treat nickels like manhole covers, I learned a lot of lessons in that. And I can tell you that there are at least $250 billion back in Washington, D.C. that can be cut out of the budget. Nobody's missing. I mean, that's some silly things perhaps, but studying the sex habits of mosquitoes. You don't need to put that like that. And I'm going to have fun going back there with your help and hopefully putting a stop to some of this stuff. But it's just reckless and immoral. There is no incentive to save in Washington, D.C. There's only an incentive to spend. Thank you, Budget Act of 1974, which allows the government to increase its expenditures by some percent, usually indexed to inflation. And guess what? We haven't had a budget approved by the Senate. Harry Reid is probably the very worst majority person we've had in the Senate. It's been irresponsible for him not to approve the budget, introduce the budget, and hopefully that can change. Well, speaking of the race, the Romney Obama race is kind of neck and neck in Colorado. The Senate is a neck and neck situation. We have a chance to pull off both, win both for the GOP side, and then the House of Representatives is in pretty good shape with its majority. So I'm very optimistic, and for the reason I got in the race, I think that this time around, 2012, that the next Congress can make a difference and get us back on track and away from some tendencies that will likely continue. We'll probably end up looking like a France or a Spain in the not too distant future. So, all the candidates that we talked about today, thank you, Mary. Thank you, all those of you who are running. All of us need your time, talent, and treasure, and your time here tonight is very valuable to me. In as much as you were able to contribute to all, or any of the above, we candidates greatly appreciate it. because it's going to be tough going down the road. There are, gosh, October 15th is when the early ballots go out, and 80% of Jefferson County votes with early ballots. And so it's really important between now and the middle of October to reach as many people as we possibly can. You all may have seen my ads. Most recent one is me driving around in a Bolt. I hope you won't hold that against me. But I really am enjoying 95.5 miles per gallon when I get out of that car, and it's comfortable. My wife says it's the most comfortable car I've ever owned. And I don't want to lie, right? What was I going with? Oh, yes. Now, it's already started. Nancy Pelosi and her, did I hear it? Nancy Pelosi has launched an attack ad against me. And for a 3-pack, and it actually shows me not a beer ad, copying that, and it's just kind of ridiculous. But I can tell you that the brown stuff is going to hit the fan, and but as a Coors family member, we've been through a lot. I don't think there's any surprises. But if Perlmutter and his group want to go the attack mode, let them. I wouldn't refute any outright lies, but we want to keep. We can't keep my election on an up and up and a positive basis based on jobs, economy, and reduced government deficit spending. Then the voters will get what they deserve, I'm afraid. So. Thank you for your time. I will allow for a couple of questions if anybody has anything that they would specifically like me to address.
Do I have a question?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Cusack. My name is Keith Cusack. I'm a local resident here. I have 2 kids, 19 and 20, and I agree that the debt is a huge issue. How do you plan on working with people in Washington to cut the budget and reduce the national debt? How do you plan on, what are your goals on doing that?
The question was, how do I plan to work with Congress to reduce the debt?
The budget and the debt.
The budget and the debt. This is a lengthy process. I'm not trying to dodge the question because even the most optimistic plans show that we could not get to a balanced budget within 8 years. And here's the reason why. Approximately 40% of the budget of the government is what they call discretionary. The other part is mandated federal entitlements. And without some reform to the federal entitlements, we can't do it. But you can take the 40% and just lop them off and shut everything that's discretionary down, which would include military, and you'll still be left with a deficit situation. So what we need to do is cap spending as a percentage of the gross domestic product, and start from there and jumpstart this economy. I mean, we got energy in Colorado is a great resource, high-paying jobs, reducing dependence on foreign imports, and getting those kinds of jobs into Colorado, which is certainly what I would push. But only jump-starting the small businesses, getting government out of the way of the small businesses, can we generate the kind of tax revenues we need to catch up. It's going to take a long time. Yes, sir.
So it seems to me 2 things have to happen if we're ever going to reverse this trend. Number 1, you got to change the residents at 1600 Pennsylvania. Number 2, Republicans must control the Senate. Until we do that, we have no shot.
I would agree we would have no shot if we can't get the presidency and the Senate. Now, that is the goal. That's the big prize. And if we can accomplish that, hopefully